From the Met Office for GB News. It is very mild out there for bonfire night. Clear spells, yes, but some showery rain, increasingly so by dawn. However, not nearly as wet as it has been in some places so far this week. We've still got low pressure in charge. That's bringing this mild southerly airflow. It's also pushing the more persistent rain into parts of northern and central Scotland. The rain, though, turning more showery as the night wears on. Those showery outbreaks most likely in the north and the west. Further east, we keep mostly dry and clear weather. But whether you've got the clear skies or the cloud or the rain, it's going to be a mild start to Thursday. Temperatures remaining in the mid-teens in places. It's also a cloudy start for many, particularly across parts of Scotland and Northern Ireland, where there'll be some outbreaks of rain. Clear spells further south, some sunshine first thing, but areas of cloud and some showers starting to spread back into parts of the south and the west of England and Wales. Best chance of some sunshine, I suspect, will be across North Wales and Northern England before we get into this cloudier zone through Scotland and Northern Ireland, although some cloud breaks are likely for the northeast of Scotland as our first band of rain clears Shetland. Then on Thursday afternoon, well, it's a real mixed bag out there. Areas of cloud and showers, some heavy downpours for parts of West Wales into the southwest, eventually pushing into Northern Ireland, northwest England and southwest Scotland. One or two showers elsewhere, but mostly dry with some sunny spells and with light winds, feeling pleasant in the sunshine with temperatures at 17, even 18 Celsius. Showers from the word go on Friday, but also a decent chance of some sunshine, especially in central and eastern parts, ahead of this system that brings some heavy and persistent rain in from the west and southwest into Northern Ireland, Wales and the southwest of England, clearing through by the time we start off the weekend. So Saturday looking like the best bet for dry and fine weather.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Box Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
Thank you, Britain, for making us the fastest growing news website in the nation. Because the truth matters, and so do you.
Good evening, this is the latest AI travel news from GBnews.com. The A99 at Clith Mains is closed both ways due to an incident with diversions. On the A19 northbound exit slip to the A689 near Stockton-on-Tees, a collision restricts one lane. In Bury, delays on the M66 northbound between Junction 2 and the A56 extend travel times by up to 90 minutes. In Bedford, southbound traffic on the A1 between the junctions with the A428 and the A421 is slowed by an incident affecting one lane. And on the trains, major disruptions in the Banbury area affect routes between Birmingham New Street and University. For more travel news, go to gbnews.com.
We're giving you the chance to win your entire Christmas this year paid for by us. First, we'll give you an incredible £30,000 in tax-free cash. Then we'll give you a further £10,000 cash to spend on all your Christmas presents, even the tree. Christmas lunch, that's on us too, with £1,000 in shopping vouchers to spend at your favourite supermarket. Finally, a GB News Christmas goodie bag. For a chance to win, text WIN to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message, or text bonus to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge, or post your name and number to GB17 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 28th of November. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand.
Westminster, the ultimate clique.
And you're fighting like rats in a sack.
But here on the Camilla Tominey Show, we ask the questions the establishment media is too scared to ask.
OK, let me ask you a straight question, because I know you're a straight-talking politician.
Whether it's net zero, illegal immigration or law and order, nothing is off limits.
You had the power then.
Yeah, as I
and
say,
now you've lost it.
That's the Camilla Tominey Show, a politics show that's fearless.
But no, let me finish my question if you don't mind, because it is my show.
Sundays at 9:30, only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
The GB Newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK.
We're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News.
The People's Channel.
Britain's news channel.
Good evening. I'll be joined by the former head of security from HM Prison Wandsworth on the day when not one, but two prisoners are accidentally released. We'll also talk grooming gangs. It would appear that 23 police forces from across the country are now going to reopen files going back to 2010. Surely that must be a good thing. And Zoran Mandami is elected as the mayor of New York. Is he an out-of-control Marxist that will destroy the city, or is he going to bring people actually a better life? All of that and much more after the news with Tatiana Sanchez.
Nigel, thank you very much and good evening. The top stories. Police are hunting another prisoner who's been accidentally released from HMP Wandsworth. Surrey police have put out an appeal to find 35-year-old Billy Smith, who was released in error on Monday. Smith was sentenced to 45 months for multiple fraud offences at Croydon Crown Court on Monday, during which he appeared via a live video link from HMP Wandsworth. He has links to Woking but could be anywhere in Surrey, the force said. That's as the 24-year-old Algerian man mistakenly released from prison in London has been named as Brahim Kadur Sharif. He was wrongly freed from HMP Wandsworth on the 29th of October, but the error was not reported to police until nearly a week later. It's been confirmed he is not an asylum seeker, but was serving time for trespass and has previously committed sexual offences. He entered the UK legally on a visit visa in 2019, has now overstayed the visa. It comes after convicted sex offender Hadoush Gabatu was also accidentally released from Chelmsford Prison on the 24th of October. Today's news broke after Shadow Defence Secretary James Cartledge pressed the Deputy Prime Minister David Lammy in the Commons on whether any asylum seekers had been mistakenly released since Hadoush Gabatu last month. Mr Lammy dodged the questions, instead accusing the Conservative Party of leaving Britain's prison system in chaos.
They left our prisons on the brink of collapse entirely, threatening to allow offenders to run wild on our streets. He knows that. Rape victims waiting years for their day in court. He knows that. Neighbourhood policing decimated, leaving our people feeling unsafe in their communities, and they haven't learned a thing.
Well, prison sources say it would have been irresponsible for David Lammy to discuss the situation during PMQs today, despite being informed about it overnight, describing the case as incredibly complex and involving multiple agencies with details still emerging. Downing Street has called the incident utterly unacceptable, saying the circumstances will be forensically examined as part of Dame Lynn Owen's review into wrongful releases. David Lammy says he's absolutely outraged and appalled by the mistake, confirming an urgent manhunt's underway, and he also vowed to leave no stone unturned in fixing what he calls deeper flaws in the criminal justice system. Elsewhere, Donald Trump says election results in the US aren't good for Republicans after Democrats swept the first major elections of his second term. Zoran Mamdani wins the New York City mayoral race, and Democrats also clinched key governor races in Virginia and New Jersey. 34-year-old Mamdani becomes New York City's first Muslim mayor and youngest person in over a century to lead the largest city in the US. In a victory speech, Mamdani said he will stand up for New York against Donald Trump. And finally, a dog that killed a 9-month-old baby in southeast Wales on Sunday was an XL bully, police say. The animal had been registered before a ban on the breed came into effect, Gwent Police said. Assistant Chief Constable Vicky Townsend said while the dog in this case was registered as an XL bully, it was done so proactively before the ban came into effect. No arrests have been made at this time, she said, adding the investigation is ongoing and officials' identification of the dog was necessary. Those are the latest headlines for now. It's back to Nigel.
You can now watch GB News live across the United States of America and the world on Truth Plus. Scan the QR code to find out more or visit gbnews.com/truth.
Good evening. Polling now consistently shows that over 70% of you think that Britain is broken. Well, I tell you what, today was another day that really proved that. After the huge row about Kabatu, remember? The man that sexually assaulted the 14-year-old girl in Essex after his accidental release. Today, we had the most farcical Prime Minister's questions I think I've ever seen. Bear in mind that the PM has gone to Brazil for the COP summit, so it was the Deputy PM, David Lammy, against Conservative Jane Cartledge. Just have a little look at what went on.
Can he reassure the House that since Kabatu was released, no other asylum-seeking offender has been accidentally let out of prison?
Of course I apologise, and I'm sorry.
I'm going to ask him the question again. Can he reassure the House that since Kabatu was released, no other asylum-seeking offender has been accidentally let out of prison? It's a very specific question for him to answer.
I put in place the toughest checks we've ever had in the prison system.
Can he reassure the House that since Kabatu was released, no other asylum-seeking offender has been accidentally let out of prison?
I know I'm the Justice Secretary, that's why I'm at the dispatch box, also as Deputy Prime Minister.
Can he reassure the House that since Kabatu was released, no other asylum-seeking offender has been accidentally let out of prison?
I've got to tell you, I spent 14 years in opposition, and I did a hell of a lot better than he's just done.
Since Kabatu was released, no other asylum-seeking offender has been accidentally let out of prison. Can he answer the question?
I'm looking forward to being up against the member for Newark next time.
And now here's the farce. Cartledge knew all along there had been an accidental release from Wandsworth this morning. The Deputy Prime Minister knew there'd been an accidental release that had taken place from HM Prison Wandsworth and had a pre-prepared statement. Yet, even though they had parliamentary privilege, we went through this complete and utter farce. In fact, Nigel Nelson, of this manor, said to me in all the decades he's watched PMQs, he's never seen anything worse. And then at 12:34, the official news story was broken, and Cartledge then, as a point of order, gets up and says this.
Speaker, just to be clear, the Telegraph are reporting that a police manhunt has been launched for a second asylum seeker mistakenly freed from prison. The question is, Mr. Speaker, can you advise me on how I can ask the Justice Secretary whether he was aware of this when I asked him about it repeatedly in Prime Minister's question?
Well, there we are. And you wonder why people don't really follow Parliament anymore. What a complete and utter farce. But we learnt at 12:34 from the Telegraph that a 24-year-old Algerian man had been wrongly freed from HM Prison Wandsworth, wait for this bit, on Wednesday of last week. So why the gap? Why didn't the police know in that intervening period of time? The prison service did not alert the police for 6 days. This guy's been out there for 6 days. He's a sex offender, for goodness sake. And if that wasn't bad enough, we then go on to learn that on Monday of this week, 35-year-old William Smith, on the very day that he was sentenced to 45 months in prison for multiple fraud, has also been released from HM Prison Wandsworth. You literally couldn't make it up. What better example could there possibly be of broken Britain? I don't even know what question to ask you, but please give me some thoughts. Tweet #Farage on GB News or email farage@gbnews.com. Well, I am very pleased to say that joining me down the line is Ian Akerson, Senior Advisor at the Counter-Extremism Project, and, here's the crucial bit, folks, former Head of Security at HM Prison Wandsworth. Ian, what the hell is going on?
Well, good evening, Nigel. Can I just hastily add, I was head of security at Wandsworth back in the mid-90s when we were actually in charge of the prison, not the state that it's in at the moment. I think, first of all, it's rather interesting that the Metropolitan Police statement has said that they were informed by HM Prison and Probation Service of this release in error 6 days later. What we don't know is when the Prison Service actually knew this release in error had taken place. And, you know, there's quite a lot of distance between informed and knew about. And I'm just wondering, given the calamity of this second release and the extent of the security failure, I'm just wondering, you know, did they know beforehand? And was there a desperate, panicked, you know, operation in place to try to get this place back into custody before it broke into the media again? I don't think David Lammy covered himself in glory at all at the dispatch box. He hasn't conducted himself properly in relation to the first release in error of Kibatu, when he seemed to lose his temper, and he did the same thing again. And look, people are entitled to be, ordinary people, aghast at these repeated security failures and expect accountability to come from the government. And we haven't seen that. We've seen a degree of obfuscation, frankly. And I think David Lammy is, to be frank, Nigel, is discovering what many of his predecessors have discovered in relation to His Majesty's Prison and Probation Services. When you're the political head of that organisation and you try to pull the levers of power to get something done, you actually find that all the cables have been cut. If this disaster was going to happen anywhere at all in Britain after the release in error of Kibatu, it would have happened at HMP Wandsworth. 20-minute car ride from headquarters, a prison in free fall, in plain sight, in absolute chaos for years, with nothing being done to fix it, with a very large population of foreign national offenders. It would have happened there, and it did.
Yeah, I see the numbers now. I mean, it's 266 people have been wrongly released over the course of the last year. That's up 128%. But clearly, I take your comments on David Lammy, I take your comments on political accountability, but clearly they also inherited something that was already broken.
Well, there's absolutely no question about that. The prison service has been gutted of experience and personnel for years since austerity measures, absolutely, criminally stupid austerity measures, removed 20% of the headcount of the prison service as the prison population remained static and then started to rise. They took all the experience out. And one of the things about Wandsworth that's quite interesting is after Khalifa escaped, the prison service internally conducted a security audit review of Wandsworth Prison. And some of those results were leaked to the media, and it discovered that 81 separate failures in safety and security had occurred to allow the escape of a terror suspect. And that included things like inadequate staffing, inexperienced staffing, staff asleep at their posts, staff looking at their phones instead of what was in front of them. So you're describing a prison, again, 20 minutes away from prison service headquarters, population 5,500 bureaucrats, where if you wanted to be sure that the disaster of Kibatu's release and the reputational disaster that happened was not going to happen again, you would be absolutely focused in places like HMP Wandsworth. And I've got to say to you, the fact that this didn't happen actually reflects on the boss class, the officials at the top of the prison service. I was just looking today at an organogram, Nigel, of the prison service. It's got directors general, it's got directors of operation, it's got area executive directors coming out of its ears, it's got prison group directors, it's got a director of executive director of transforming delivery, executive director of standards. Why does it take the accident of either an inspection that damns the place or something like this hitting the headlines to get these people to do their jobs? That's what David Lammy should be asking, instead of allowing, a lowly officer or operational support grade to go under the bus for this.
Ian, thank you very much indeed. I'm joined in the studio by Kwasi Kwarteng and Stella Santakidou. Kwasi.
Sure.
Very interesting, that list. Middle management, middle management, middle management. It almost feels, and I'm going to say since Blair's time, maybe it started earlier, I don't know, that all our public services are full of middle management, but nobody's ever accountable for anything.
Well, nobody gets blamed, so the culture is very much you can't blame anybody, you can't say that you're bad at your job. And we've got a situation where we've got tons and tons of managers, across all the departments. I mean, I was in 3 or 4 different departments as a minister, and you could see there were tons and tons of managers, directors general. But there were very few people who actually had the experience on the ground. You've got to remember also with the civil service is that they, like ministers, they move around the whole time. So, you could be a director in one department, the education department, And then you could end up as a director general.
Which,
in the
I mean,
Home
you
Office.
wouldn't run a business like that, would you?
No, you wouldn't. And it's got accelerated. So because everything, people want lifestyle, they want all sorts of things, which is, you can understand. But it means that you don't have the depth of experience in a lot of these departments at the official level, let alone the ministerial level, to really make an impact and get a grip of things.
It's extraordinary.
And it's an endemic problem.
Stella, I was trying to be balanced there. He was giving, Ian Akerson there was giving Lammy a real good kicking. I think I was fair when I said they did inherit a hell of a problem, but they're the ones in government now. What on earth do you think they do next?
Quite right. And privatisation has completely destroyed the prison system, but I do think that one thing people have been missing is seeing true institutional accountability and seeing people being punished. And I know it sounds a bit savage when I say it this way.
Not at all, but I agree with you entirely.
People don't want to see more civil servants failing upward.
But they don't have any accountability.
No one gets sacked.
Nobody knows who they are, which is fair enough. But at the same time, they're not accountable.
What Ian's really saying is that Lammy and others should now grip this.
They should.
Grip this, sack those that have failed, take some personal responsibility.
I would rather see people working in the public sector to be allowed to take decisions with a lot less regulations without having to produce as much evidence, to be allowed basically to use their professional judgment, their critical thinking, and then to also say, look, you are going to be given more freedom, but you will also have more responsibility, which means that you will not be able to point to this or that committee, to this or that report, to this or that person when it comes down to a decision being made.
You make a very fair point.
I think it's a good point.
But the other thing that I want to pick up on is I saw Lammy in the House of Commons today.
Yeah.
And he completely, I think, made a mess of things. Because as the Secretary of State for Justice, when Cartledge kept asking him this, and they all knew the answer.
They all knew. He had a pre-prepared statement.
He should have actually fessed up and said, look, this is what's happened, this is a problem. But what he did, his knee-jerk response was to just make party political points. And I don't think he rose to the level of the crisis.
Fair criticism.
I think that he didn't want to discuss this because because it would have been the wrong thing to do given the circumstances before the public.
Hang on, Stella. Prime Minister's questions is something that has an international reputation. Members of Parliament, ministers are there. They do have parliamentary privilege. If they knew the truth about this, they didn't need to wait for the Telegraph to break this.
And also, what was so farcical was that 4 minutes after it ended. With Burqa, we used to have PMQs lasting an hour, but Lindsay keeps it quite tight. Yeah. So at 12:34. Cartledge, made a point of order because the whole thing had come out. It was crazy.
Even though I don't mind seeing David Lammy getting angry. I do think that the public likes seeing this anger being expressed. One thing I would say is I think that from the beginning he should have the first time he was asked, would you apologise to the president? He should just say yes.
A bit more sincerity.
He should have fessed up.
And then you know what? If people then thought the PMQs was actually worth watching, more people would watch, more would engage, and what we saw today, frankly, was a complete failure in the House of Commons.
It was more than that. It was totally farcical. It was like a comedy.
It was awful
because he kept
everyone knew, and no one dared say.
And then about 3 minutes.
And if you can't speak freely in Parliament and be honest in Parliament, then what's the point?
And the point is that it came out literally 3 or 4 minutes.
But what I got from the fact that he was so angry is that he felt like he couldn't say anything about it. He couldn't reveal it for whatever formal reason.
Stella, I'm sorry,
he wasn't big enough.
He could have done, and actually so could Cartledge as well. Anyway, we'll draw stumps on that particular debate. In a moment, I think, there's good and bad, but potentially a bit of good news about the grooming gang cases that have been dropped over the years that are now going to be reconsidered. Hallelujah, say I.
Mornings don't have to be tiresome, especially if you have the right company.
Wake up to news as it happens, opinion and debate, and of course, a little bit of entertainment too.
Because when the kettle's on, we're on.
That's Breakfast on GB News, a show worth waking up for.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We'll spread the news, you spread the word.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
He can say whatever he wants.
A straight talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk
No,
now?
that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
In fact, has Trump made a good start? No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I got up? About 10.
So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m, only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
A couple of your thoughts from home on the HMP Wandsworth farce. Andy says the whole thing was a shambles, and I agree about Prime Minister's questions, which is why you were correct to boycott it. Well, I have been boycotting it a bit, actually. I sit in the gallery and watch because they're always abusive to me and I can't answer back. Theo says, I'm afraid when you turn on the news and it seems more like a tragic comedy sitcom, it's fair to say that Britain is most certainly broken. Well, as I said at the start of the show tonight, over 70% of people now in polls think Britain is broken. And they apply that to immigration. They apply that now to prisons. They apply that to getting GP appointments and so on and so forth. Let's talk grooming gangs. Now, first bit of news I thought wasn't particularly good, which was that thousands of prison governors have been through courses and they're told that to be careful of rumours of scenarios of men belonging to a particular religion committing violent crimes against women. They're told, the prison governors, they should assess that as an online safety risk because there were worries that kids were spreading disinformation. That was the bad news. But I think the good news, and I believe this is actually good news, is I think the establishment is beginning, I hope I'm right, but beginning to face up to some of the multiple failures and cover-ups over grooming gangs, as we learned today that 23 police forces are now going to reopen cases, and it could be many thousands of cases in the end, going back to 2010. And I think that is a good thing. I'm joined down the line by Marlon West, father of a grooming gang's survivor. Marlon, I know that all of you have been fighting such a long campaign for some kind of truth and just for some kind of accountability from police, social services, politicians. And, you know, as you know, I've had survivors on this show and spoken about this for many years. This does begin to, I mean, tell me I'm wrong perhaps, but it begins to look like that collectively the police are beginning to face up to their failures.
Yeah, exactly. I know they've said human error, but I disagree with that, especially with so much in the media over the last month. As far as I'm concerned, this is a cover-up, which is what I've been saying for so long. what I'm interested now is, so the National Crime Agency are gonna investigate, but how many staff have they got to do this? This is massive numbers now.
Yes, it is. I mean, you know, the Metropolitan Police alone are re-examining 9,000 files, or so they say, in 3 boroughs in particular that are causing very grave concern. Marlon, I don't know the answer to that. So your worry is that it's a big signal, but it won't get followed up in reality.
Yeah, and it desperately needs to be done, but we don't want to be waiting another 10 years. It needs to be done now. As campaigners and speaking to all the survivors, we're really getting sick of it now.
Is there anything else you'd like to see happen? I mean, the police re-examining the cases, I agree with you, having the resources. What else would you like to see, Marlon?
I'd like to see accountability and more transparency. We shouldn't have the National Crime Agency doing this. Don't get me wrong, because I speak to a lot of survivors, and where they've been involved, they get a lot of respect from survivors. But do we really trust the police forces to, again, start marking their own homework?
Yeah, that's exactly the quote that I've heard time and again, marking their own homework. Marlon, you made a couple of very strong points. Thank you for coming on, and we will talk to you again before too long. And let's see how this develops and see whether your fear is right. I thought Stella Marlon made a couple of very strong points there. I mean, I think this is potentially good news.
Absolutely. Absolutely. People want to see justice, and these people need to be punished very, very severely. Because if you don't punish people severely now, then people are just going to continue not trusting the state. And this anger is going to be targeted at all sorts of other places. That is why we see this anger in people. And it's because they no longer feel like they're being protected.
Yeah, yeah. And this is not party political at all, is it?
No, it isn't.
This is much bigger than that.
So
this is actually, Kwasi, the scale of this is a national shame and disgrace.
It's a disgrace. So I met Marlon on, I think, Good Morning Britain. I shouldn't say that, but it was...
That's all right. We'll forgive you.
He's actually a very decent, honest man. Great guy. I think the point he makes about the timing, how long it's going to take actually to bring these people to justice is something that I think we need to flag, because it could take a long time. The other thing that I think is a good thing was that in some parts of the country, particularly in London, a lot of this stuff was going on, but all the focus was in the north.
Well, and this is where Mayor Khan potentially has some political problems. You see, there's been a lot of denials.
That's right.
You know, in City Hall, when Khan's been asked about this, he said, well, we've got a county lines problem. He appears to have been in denial. It's beginning to look, from the sheer numbers, that it's almost impossible for 50 towns to have had this phenomenon and for London not to have.
But county lines is also sexual exploitation. So county lines could also be a grooming gang style crime.
That is true. That is true, Stella. But there is a difference between historically what we would view as sexual exploitation of minors and specific grooming gangs from individual racial groups. Yes. And the difference is that normally sexual exploitation of kids comes from a trusted family friend or senior figure.
That's right.
And it's all done in great secrecy and the kid's threatened. What was happening in Rotherham and elsewhere was open for all to see.
Not for county lines, because county lines can have grooming children with drugs and then sexually abusing them.
No, but the main thing about London, I mean, I'm a Londoner, I mean, you're from Kent, so it's almost like London. Well, I mean, you disagree. But the point is that the whole focus of this grooming gangs inquiry, the controversy, was around northern towns.
Yeah.
That was where
the South got ignored.
And the South was completely ignored, as if nothing happened. And your point is well made. It's like, well, if it was going on in Oldham and Rochdale...
and 50 towns.
In 50 towns. How was London, which has 20 times, 30 times the population of these towns, how was it not happening there?
No. Well,
that's a fair point.
I tell you what, I mean, GB News' Charlie Peters, I think, has done as much as any journalist since Andrew Norfolk to actually reinvestigate many of these things. I think this channel has actually played a very decisive role in this being back open as a public debate. And we will follow, not just this show, but this channel will follow this and follow these promises that have been made very, very closely indeed. In a moment, we will talk about an horrific attack that took place on the peaceful French island of Oloron this morning. But we'll also talk about the most extraordinary story that has broken via the Telegraph over the course of the last couple of hours, where a whistleblower from inside the Home Office is basically saying that people who come to Britain illegally, committed crimes, including sexual offences, have been waved through and legally allowed to stay in our country. It is actually, I think, the most serious accusation yet I've heard over all of this since we've been debating it in the last few years. All of that in a few minutes. I think it...
Can't wait to get in that sea.
Lovely and warm.
Just like the feeling of having great travel insurance.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News travel destinations forecast.
Heavy downpours likely over the northeast of Spain and southern France over the course of Thursday. Some showery rain also for the Greek islands, particularly Corfu. Much of Italy looking fine with some autumn sunshine in Rome. There's that heavy rain just clearing away from Barcelona, but bringing some downpours to the south of France. Showery rain also clearing away from the Balearics. Much of southern Spain dry and sunny. Small chance of a shower or two over the Canaries. They should be clearing away as we head into the weekend.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News travel destinations forecast.
Hi there and welcome to the latest update from the Met Office for GB News. It is very mild out there for bonfire night. Clear spells, yes, but some showery rain, increasingly so by dawn. However, not nearly as wet as it has been in some places so far this week. We've still got low pressure in charge. That's bringing this mild southerly airflow. It's also pushing the more persistent rain into parts of northern and central Scotland. The rain, though, turning more showery as the night wears on. Those showery outbreaks most likely in the north and the west. Further east, we keep mostly dry and clear weather. But whether you've got the clear skies or the cloud or the rain, it's going to be a mild start to Thursday. Temperatures remaining in the mid-teens in places. It's also a cloudy start for many, particularly across parts of Scotland and Northern Ireland, where there'll be some outbreaks of rain. Clear spells further south, some sunshine first thing, but areas of cloud and some showers starting to spread back into parts of the south and the west of England and Wales. Best chance of some sunshine, I suspect, will be across North Wales and Northern England before we get into this cloudier zone through Scotland and Northern Ireland, although some cloud breaks are likely for the northeast of Scotland as first band of rain clears Shetland. Then on Thursday afternoon, well, it's a real mixed bag out there. Areas of cloud and showers, some heavy downpours for parts of West Wales into the southwest, eventually pushing into Northern Ireland, northwest England and southwest Scotland. One or two showers elsewhere, but mostly dry with some sunny spells and with light winds, feeling pleasant in the sunshine with temperatures at 17, even 18 Celsius. Showers from the word go on Friday, but also decent chance of some sunshine, especially in central and eastern parts, ahead of this system that brings some heavy and persistent rain in from the west and southwest into Northern Ireland, Wales and the southwest of England, clearing through by the time we start off the weekend. So Saturday looking like the best bet for dry and fine weather.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power? Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's political podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's political podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
Decisions made in Washington aren't just shaping America, they're shaping Britain too. From migration to global security, from crime to health. Whatever happens in the White House today
will be felt in your town or city tomorrow.
That's why The Late Show is live from Washington, D.C.
Cutting through the politics to show you what it all means for Britain.
The Late Show live every night at midnight.
Only on GB News,
Britain's news channel.
The island of Oloron out on the west coast of France. It's a place I've been to a couple of times. It's a quiet, lovely place, fishing community, oyster farms, just about the last place you would have expected for an Islamist attack. But that is pretty much exactly what happened, or started, at 8:45 this morning. I'm joined down the line by Peter Allen, Paris-based journalist and author. Peter, just tell us exactly what went on and what the political reaction has been in France today.
Well, as you say, Nigel, it was first thing this morning at about 8:40 on this absolutely beautiful island, much loved by a lot of British holidaymakers. More famous Ile de Ré is next to it, but Oloron is just as beautiful. It's the second biggest island in mainland France after Corsica. And effectively, there was a stretch of road about 4 miles long between two villages, and a small car went along this road, knocking people over. That's it in simple terms. 10 people were very badly injured, 2 of whom are in intensive care tonight, 3 in a critical situation as well. Others are still being treated for more minor injuries. The assailant was 35 years old. He lived locally. He was known to the police, but not, I have to say, for any radicalized activity, Islamist activity. Interestingly, Nigel, he's been described as a Caucasian tonight. It's unusual for the French to do that, but that's what they're saying. A white Caucasian, 35 years old. But crucially, he was heard to shout Allahu Akbar 2 or 3 times while being arrested. Obviously, these are words that have been perverted into words that we associate with Al-Qaeda, Islamic State, groups like that. And of course, in a country like France, which has suffered immeasurably from attacks by such organizations over the last 10 years, an attack like this brings back lots of horrific memories. Clearly, there's a lot to be explained still. The man is in custody. The local prosecutor from La Rochelle, he said there was going to be a press conference tonight. That didn't happen. He has got a lot to work out, I think. There's lots of mixed messages coming from this assailant. But you may remember that terrible attack in Nice in 2016 when a juggernaut went along the promenade at Nice, killed 89 people. That was an Islamist attack. There was no doubt about that. And that today's attack had the same kind of modus operandi. But of course, thankfully, he was driving a very small Renault Citroën car and not a juggernaut.
Peter, thank you very much indeed. Thank you. I suppose the shock of that for me is you kind of almost wouldn't be surprised if it happened in Marseille or Paris, but to happen out there is a shock. I'm not going to debate that. It's horrendous and it's something that we're all frightened of. But I'm going to move to this story, which has broken in the last couple of hours on the Telegraph. And I think of the whole illegal migration, asylum claim story. These are, to date, the most serious allegations that have been made. Now, I will say that it's just one person, a whistleblower from the Home Office, who is making these charges. But the basic claim is that we have a long backlog of those seeking asylum claims. And if they say they're from Afghanistan, or if they're from Africa and say they're from Eritrea, that gives the government a massive, massive problem because we refuse to return people to those countries. And what this former UK asylum caseworker is saying is that asylum seekers who come to this country who have been accused of sexual offences and other crimes are still being granted asylum, allowed to stay in this country and freely walk the streets. And the Daily Telegraph, and we discussed this with the panel before we came on air, the Daily Telegraph will not have published this unless they're pretty confident that it's true. Kwasi, your reaction to this?
Look, I
know it's a news story.
It's a news story.
But it's a very serious charge.
It's a very serious allegation. And I think the Home Office will obviously have something to say about that.
Yep.
Because if it's true, it's a huge scandal. But I think we've just got to wait and see if it's corroborated. Because I don't want to jump in and say, you know, this is an outrage, this is a scandal,
I fully understand your caution, Kwasi. I understand your caution, but the Daily Telegraph clearly believes it to be true.
You know, if I'm being very candid, there is a world where you're processing asylum claims and you want to deal with the backlog.
Yeah.
So you can see how the official mind might say, actually, let's wave these people through if they're coming from Eritrea and Afghanistan, where we can't return them, so that we deal with the backlog. We kind of massage or we ease the backlog. Now, it's a big thing to say, OK, this is how it might work, to say that they actually were waving through sex offenders and all the rest
Stella,
of it.
again, you know, as I say, the newspaper published this. If it's true, there's going to be a hell of a row, isn't there?
There will be people who care about asylum seekers and refugees who will worry that this kind of story stigmatizes all refugees and all asylum seekers, and for this reason, we need to keep it hush-hush and try to deal with it through the back door. I think we should be doing the opposite. If you care about refugees worldwide, about their safety, about their security, about how they are treated...
These aren't refugees, Stella.
Yes. Let me finish. If you care about them, then you need to realize that your enemy is not just people who stigmatize all immigrants or all refugees. It is also fake asylum seekers.
That's true.
And immigrants who commit crimes.
That's true.
As angry as we are about people who stigmatize who paint all immigrants with the same brush, we should be extremely angry at people who are taking advantage of the generosity of this country, and they're coming here and they're committing these crimes. And then the people who are helping them, these are not open-minded, progressive, left-wing people. These are enemies of immigrants. These are enemies of progress. They are enemies of democracy.
Because they destroy the overall...
I couldn't agree with
exactly.
you more.
So the argument is that we've always been very generous to genuine refugees.
That's right.
But this behaviour damages our...
They're muddying the waters.
I
think you make an excellent point.
Fair point.
And actually, when you like a lot of things in this state, you look at the history of it. I mean, the first asylum, I think, was about 1905. But that was all to do with, Jewish people coming out of Russia, pogroms, all of that sort of stuff.
And there was no argument that genuine refugees, or the Asians, the Idi Amin, no arguments.
No. But Stella makes a good point. The actual bad agents, of whom I think there are many,
too many,
are actually queering the pitch for genuine...
Well, you've got this sort of ridiculous neo-Marxist, a world without borders, anyone can come stuff. Look, let's see how this story develops. If this does turn out to be true, it is going to be one hell of a scandal. I have a statement from the Home Office. I'll read it to you. A Home Office spokesman has said, "We take all allegations seriously and are committed to addressing any concerns appropriately. However, we do not accept the characterisation of these concerns as presented. The integrity of the UK immigration system is paramount. We operate within a robust framework of safeguards and quality assurance measures to ensure that all claims are thoroughly assessed, decisions are well-founded, and protection is granted only to those who meet the established criteria. We are changing the law. So individuals convicted of sexual offences cannot be granted asylum in the UK," which indicates to me, if we're changing the law to do that, that indicates to me we've been allowing it in the past.
There's clearly a problem.
That was worded that way, Kwasi.
They have worded it that way, and there's clearly a problem. But to say that they were waved through is a different... is a step
Well, I think
beyond.
I read a clue there, and I sort of understand why, people are getting very, very angry. In a moment... New York has a new mayor. Yes, Zoran Mandani has won. He is very, very left-wing. Donald Trump says that he's a communist. Is he going to be good for New York, or will it lead to an exodus of wealth and business?
No matter the state it's in, this is our nation. Join me, Jacob Rees-Mogg, for a genuine, honest discussion on where we have been, where we are going, and where we are with the people who set the direction. Tune in to State of the Nation every Monday to Thursday, 8 to 9 o'clock. Only on GB News.
Bold. They are under no illusion. Ray. Are you a human trafficker? Boundless. I've had enough of the nonsense, and I'm not afraid to say it.
Don't get us on the BBC.
Every weeknight, I tear through the headlines.
The smell of gasoline. Should we be worried about it?
From Westminster madness to cultural war chaos.
What we're going to do now is they are throwing things out the car as we speak.
Get ready, Britain. Here we go. Patrick Christie's tonight, weeknights from 9 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation,
No,
isn't it?
no,
Because the failure is...
You're
the failure is...
deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Jubes & Co. weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Mornings don't have to be tiresome, especially if you have the right company.
Wake up to news as it happens, opinion and debate, and of course, a little bit of entertainment too.
Because when the kettle's on, we're on.
That's Breakfast on GB News, a show worth waking up for.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We'll spread the news, you spread the word.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
He can say whatever he wants.
A straight-talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Britain deserves a newsroom that puts the facts and your voice first.
Well, and that's what you get on GB News. Lively debates, lively conversation.
And we're not afraid to hold power to account.
And each other. So join me, Andrew Pierce.
And me, Miriam Gates, for Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 on GB News.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
In the early hours of the morning UK time, Zoran Mamdani gave this victory speech.
I can see the dawn of a better day for humanity. For as long as we can remember, the working people of New York have been told by the wealthy and the well-connected that power does not belong in their hands. The future is in our hands. My friends, we have toppled a political dynasty.
Well, this guy is eloquent. This guy is powerful. This guy is good on social media. This guy is, I'm told, good-looking. I'm not necessarily a very good judge of that. But what does it all mean? Somebody that wanted to defund the police. Somebody that called the New York Police Department enemies of the people. Somebody who wants to tax the rich in a country of huge physical mobility. People all through the history of America have been great waves of migration. My own thought is that this will damage Wall Street in the most extraordinary way, that a lot of people will go, I think particularly to Miami, which is a Republican-run state with a good governor, and I sense this is full-on, real deal Marxism that will do enormous damage. Am I being unfair, Stella?
Yes, you are. I doubt you can do Marxism in New York. Come on, I mean...
Now, Wes Streeting said it was inspirational.
You know what? Like, yes, he's extremely inspirational.
No, he's good.
And he's right. What he did, his victory is absolutely monumental. Now, Marxism, I mean, I'm sorry, is it socialism? Is corporate welfare? Is subsidies? Is subsidies to all of these massive multinationals socialism? Is that socialism? Is it socialism? Is it communism when we're giving subsidies, corporate welfare to massive companies? No, we don't say that's socialism. We just say, oh, this is the best way to run our capitalism. Well, it's the same thing here. It's just that for once, it's not the massive multinationals that are getting their extra freebies, it's the people.
I mean, I have to say, I think Staten Island will seek independence from New York.
Look, this man...
He's a good operator.
He's a good speaker. I've seen him on his debates on YouTube. Very good talker, very attractive. And for that reason, he's one of the most dangerous people around, because he's got a full-on socialist programme. He will tax the rich. They'll all go to Florida.
Yeah, they will.
Yes, tax the rich.
All of that stuff. let's just pause for a moment. If you tax the rich and they all go away somewhere else...
Well, ideally, I would not let them go anywhere. Ideally, I would have a global agreement.
Put them in prison.
Next time the UK invades a country, it should not be over, democracy, oil, blah, blah. No, it should be over taxes.
No, so we entrap the rich.
Non-doms should have nowhere to go, yes. People should be embarrassed to send an invoice from tax heaven.
This is the British version,
It should be socially stigmatising.
So my danger, I mean, I almost guarantee you're younger than I am, OK? So you haven't seen the full madness of socialism in the 20th century.
I've seen the madness of capitalism. 2008, I was alive.
You haven't seen the madness of socialism. This man, Mamdani, is a full-blown socialist. And he's got the eloquence, the youth and the energy to actually do a huge amount of damage. Because he's a Pied Piper. People are flowing behind him. They're marching behind him.
He was elected on a Democrat ticket.
Yes, that's right.
Is that the modern face of the Democrats?
The danger, if Trump doesn't work out for whatever reason, the Democrats could well choose, not Mamdani himself, but there are a lot of people who are like him. And you saw the eloquence, you saw the enthusiasm, and I think you could well, and I wouldn't price this, I wouldn't say this was more than a 30% likelihood.
Yeah.
But there is a chance the Democrats go full left, they have a charismatic young figure, and they win the presidency in 2028. That's music to your ears.
I was very
This is your dream,
surprised.
but it's a disaster.
I was surprised that Wes Streeting, who would be considered to be more on the Blairite wing of the government, is praising this guy who wanted to defund the police.
Well, I'm pretty sure he has done a U-turn on the defund the police. I think that was a big mistake.
Well, he was
I do
saying
think
it
that
5
is a
years
problem.
ago.
But he said globalise the jihad. The Intifada.
The Intifada, whatever.
Globalise the Intifada.
Don't say whatever.
Yeah, they're slogans, whatever. West Streeting, you asked about West Streeting. What West Streeting is recognizing is that the left really does need to have more charismatic people who are able to communicate to a wide audience, and they really do need to have people who come across as authentic and who are excited about what they're actually saying, and they really believe in it.
I don't disagree with you. My worry is that these people might actually win and wreak devastation.
Well, and I wonder, because the Green Party in this country, Corbyn and Zara Sultana, Fruit and Nut as they're known, they clearly couldn't organise a booze up in a brewery. They can't even agree a name. And the Greens have stepped into this gap with a programme not dissimilar.
No. I mean, he's anti-nuclear, and that.
No, but Zach Polanski describes Mamdani, this fellow who won in New York, as a friend and someone
mentor.
And a mentor.
And they could very well be, but that doesn't change the fact that Mamdani, he got elected as mayor of New York City. That's a very different position from being someone who wants to run a country like the UK, when we have the energy security issues that we have and the energy prices that we do, and being against nuclear. And pretending to be in favour of green policies.
I think a left-wing, a Mamdani-type president of the United States is a disaster.
No, I agree.
Would Bernie Sanders have been a disaster?
I'm going to have a final thought from you, Stella, on this. As the Green Party now rise in the polls and take on that hard left position, and as they, in fact, in one poll last week were above Labour, is the rise of the hard anti-nuclear left going to destroy the Labour Party?
Absolutely not, because they are the growthers. And at the end of the day, people have, on a day-to-day basis, their economic interest, their economic security comes above other things. And I do think that they have a lot of things. The Labour Party should take the Green Party seriously, for sure. But at the end of the day, they're not serious. They're simply not up
Well,
to it.
I don't know. I didn't think this guy was serious. My thanks to my panel. We've covered some very big, heavy subjects tonight. I hope we've covered them in a responsible and sensible, but still entertaining way. Now, coming up next is State of the Nation with Jacob Rees-Mogg. Jacob, what have you got this evening?
Oh, another story about the sheer incompetence of the government, of the state being broken, this release of people from prison early. There seems to be one every day of the working week since Labour got into government. And also, David Lammy seems to have broken the ministerial code, which expects ministers to give accurate and truthful information, being as open as possible. Well, if he was as open as possible at PMQs today, I'm a Dutchman, and as you may realise, I'm not very Dutch.
No, Jacob, you've been called so many things over the years, but we do not doubt your absolute thorough Englishness and Britishness in every single way. All of that coming up with Jacob. Just a quick final thought. Is Britain broken?
I think there's a crisis.
Is Britain broken?
There's a crack, yeah.
Yeah, Britain is broken. Gosh, agreement.
There's a crisis.
If Stella and Kwasi agree,
No,
quite whether that's a good thing or a bad thing, I really can't make my mind up. But I think
there's a crisis going on.
There is a major crisis going on. Before Jacob, let's have a look at the all-important weather.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Boxed Boiler sponsors the weather on GB News.
Hi there and welcome to the latest update from the Met Office for GB News. It is very mild out there for bonfire night. Clear spells, yes, but some showery rain, increasingly so by dawn. However, not nearly as wet as it has been in some places so far this week. We've still got low pressure in charge. That's bringing this mild southerly airflow. It's also pushing the more persistent rain into parts of northern and central Scotland. The rain, though, turning more showery as the night wears on. Those showery outbreaks most likely in the north and the west. Further east, we keep mostly dry and clear weather. But whether you've got the clear skies or the cloud or the rain, it's going to be a mild start to Thursday. Temperatures remaining in the mid-teens in places. It's also a cloudy start for many, particularly across parts of Scotland and Northern Ireland, where there'll be some outbreaks of rain. Clear spells further south, some sunshine first thing, but areas of cloud and some showers starting to